As the Beatles famously said, all you need is love, and that is really true. At the end of it all, what's remarkable is when you can reach out and be empathetic to people who you don't even know. I'm really looking forward to these stories being out there. I hope in some small way we've been inspirational in the process. It'll mean a lot more than just taking a photograph. As the Beatles famously said, all you need is love, and that is really true. At the end of it all, what's remarkable is when you can reach out and be empathetic to people who you don't even know. I'm really looking forward to these stories being out there. I hope in some small way we've been inspirational in the process. It'll mean a lot more than just taking a photograph.
Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Priyanka Dave and I'm a part of the Me India marketing team. I'm here today for a very special collaboration announcement with a very special person for a very special device. We're calling this device the Perfect 10. And those of you who've been following us would know that we've been talking about this from quite some time now. The Perfect 10 comes with all the flagship features that you need in your device. From a flagship camera to a flagship processor, amazing screen, great battery life, and is also future ready. We cannot wait to reveal this in front of you on the 5th of January. And yes, this is probably going to be the first smartphone launch of next year. Saving that for 5th, today, as you all know, we're here to celebrate a collaboration which is very, very close to our hearts. And why so? You will know in a few seconds. To talk more about this and introduce our special guest today, I would like to hand it over to Sumit Sonal, who is the lead for Me Marketing India. Over to you, Sumit.
Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you for the kind introduction. Hi, guys. My name is Sumit. I lead marketing for the Me brand in India. Today is a very special occasion. We started a very, very special project almost 2 months back. Priyanka, like how she spoke about, we started working on a brand new smartphone, which we are launching on the 5th of January. To be quite honest, that is going to be the first smartphone launch of the next decade. So we are quite excited about that. Now, when we started working on this particular project of the next upcoming smartphone, we were pretty sure that we wanted to bring in that flagship ultra high resolution camera sensor, which we started with the Mi 10 and the Mi 10T Pro, as you would remember. Now, when we started putting this 108 megapixel camera on the next smartphone, we also thought that we should call it the Perfect 10. And why are we calling it the Perfect 10? Because we think that this device with this particular camera is completely going to change the segment. So that's what the promise is. We are calling it the Perfect 10. Features a 108 megapixel camera. This is a brand new sensor, India debut, which is happening on the upcoming Mi smartphone. I'm quite excited about that. And I'm seeing a lot of love coming in from all the parts of the country. So I'm guessing you are as well. Now, what we wanted to do is something very special. Let me just take a moment to talk about that. When we started working on this particular project, we thought that instead of shooting regular pictures to showcase the potential of the camera, we actually wanted to shoot real people and real stories this time. And that is where our friend and one of the ace photographers of India, Atul Kasbekar, comes in. You know that we have been talking to Atul for quite some time now, and he has been also using the device. But the idea was that we wanted to cover what actually happened in 2020. As we move into a brand new year, I think the 2020 is a celebration, is actually a moment where we need to stop and look at what all has happened in 2020. We were hit by COVID-19, we were hit by a pandemic, and a lot of people, a lot of real people, normal people actually came up and tried contributing to the society in their own ways. Our 2021, I think, and I feel should be a celebration of all those people. Now, what you will see today is an ode of photography towards all of these brilliant people, all of these people who have come up in the society and contributed towards it. But before I go ahead and talk more about that, let me quickly introduce Mr. Atul Kasbekar. Now, I know that he needs no introduction, but let me just read it out to you. That's something which I have prepared, so I would love to read it out to you. So Atul is a celebrated Indian advertising photographer, as you already know. And there is one cool thing which you might not know about him, but he is also an ace Bollywood producer. Now, you might have seen some of the cool work which he has produced. I will put a few names in front of you. Tumhari Sulu, which featured Vidya Balan, Nirja, which featured Sonam Kapoor, and Cheat India. All of these movies were actually produced by Atul Kasbekar. Now, Atul in 2014, roughly around 2014, he started a global campaign. He actually conceptualized that global campaign. It's called Proud Fathers for Daughters. Now, if you don't know about it, I think you should Google it. It's a global campaign. The idea of doing this campaign was to support the education of underprivileged girl children. Now, Atul and his entire team have actually, because of this campaign, which is called Proud Fathers for Daughters, Atul and his team have actually sent thousands of underprivileged girl children to actually school and has supported their education. What has been keeping Atul Kasbekar busy in 2020? So Atul in 2020, along with his team and few renowned people who were there on that particular team, like Farhan Akhtar, Vidya Balan, Ali Fazal, Atul and his entire team basically put out a drive to give PPE kits to over 20,000 frontline health workers. And that is what has been keeping Atul busy, apart from all the projects which he has been working on. It is my privilege to actually bring Atul Kasbekar in front of you. He's joining us today to talk more about the project, to talk more about the device, because he has been using the device for almost 20 days now. So he will tell you more about the device, what he actually liked about the smartphone. He will give you the vision behind this particularly cool project which we have executed. You will see it very, very soon. We are going to unveil this during today's live stream. So let me waste no time. Let me just bring in Atul. Atul, welcome. Welcome to the Me Fan community. It is our privilege to have you here. This is one of the first partnerships which we are doing for this particular smartphone. So I'm absolutely excited. I would want to know about your journey with the smartphone, the entire ode of photography which we are doing for these COVID warriors. So why don't you tell us what do you think, and then we will showcase the pictures. And these are the first pictures, guys, by the way. These are the first samples which you are seeing from an unreleased device. So Atul, over to you. Tell us about your experiences.
Hey, Sumit, thank you for that warm welcome. I should take you everywhere to introduce me. I think there'll be lots of applause, but that's very sweet. Thank you very much. And it's honestly a pleasure to be here. So, I think ever since a camera popped up on a smartphone, I think our lives have changed. Everybody now has a camera in their pocket with which we once in a while answer the phone with. Really, that's the way I see it. And, it just gets better and better and better. The other day, I met my orthopedic surgeon who has done now some classes and, in smartphone photography, and has showcase some of his work. And I was trying to tell him that, look, you know what? On no given day, can I change somebody's kneecap or, fix a broken bone? But on any given day, you could quite easily take a perfectly decent photo, which is, I think, happening with what I think is the democratization of photography, thanks to smartphone cameras. So speaking of smartphone cameras, there's smartphone cameras and there's this one. What absolutely blew my mind was that it's super sharp 108 megapixel camera. It's reached a point where I think if I shot the same image on a DSLR and I shot with the new Mi smartphone, which you're unveiling on the 5th, maybe a very, very professional eye could actually tell the difference. This is not idle praise. I really genuinely mean it. It's really unbelievable sharpness. Speaking of the campaign, I think here's what we've done, guys, is I think a lot of people who were unsung have quietly got up in the middle of this pandemic and stood up and been counted. Okay, they in different ways, whether it was an ambulance driver who pretty much stayed in his ambulance for 2 months because it was difficult for him to go home since he was ferrying patients all the time, to a doctor in Mumbai who pretty much stopped his practice and set up the entire quarantine facility at the Dome, or whether it was a comedian who did some 30 odd days, I think, of shows online, and every day the money collected from his stand-up comedy was given to a separate charity. This lot of people is a representation of the many thousands that I think have been there for fellow Indians and have done remarkable work. So it really was a privilege for me to shoot this. I'm really glad that in our little think tank meetings as to what do you want to do, it crystallized into this. Because I mean, for a viewer, you'll see a campaign somewhere and there's some famous person, and you probably don't know who shot it, and that's fine. There are very few campaigns in any photographer's career, and I've been shooting for 30 years now. Where you shoot something and there's a certain relevance, and you feel that there's some kind of legacy statement that you can make. There's some kind of difference you can make. And for me personally, what turned me on about photography was taking portraits. So I've managed to combine my love for portraiture. I find faces very interesting, to shoot portraits as part of a campaign, and portraits of such significant people who I think we will all be proud to shine the spotlight on. And, well done, to the Me team, genuinely, for doing what I think is a statement campaign. It would have been very easy for you to think of a fashion space, and I would have been very happy to do it, and we would have had some really slick looking images that we could have done. But I think what we've done here has a greater significance and a certain longevity to it. So I'm really very happy and proud of the work we've managed to do. So.
No, absolutely. Thank you for praising the Me team. I think it was one of the think tank meetings which we had, and that's where we cracked it together. But I think Atul is right. This year, we will be celebrating those people. And these are unsung heroes, to be very honest. These are unsung heroes who did things in their capacity. But I think as a society, it is our responsibility to recognize those efforts. And that is what we wanted to do. Even with the next upcoming phone, instead of just showing you samples, beautiful samples, we actually wanted to celebrate those people who have made an impact and who continue to deliver without getting any praises, quite honestly. Now, I'm guessing a few of these unsung heroes have also joined us today during the live stream. And guys, we are taking questions. Atul is going to answer them at the end of this particular session. So you can tag me on Twitter, or you can reach out to us on any of our social channels and drop questions for Atul, questions for me if you have any. There is a full social media team who is right now working, looking for your comments, looking for your questions, and we will answer them at the end of this particular session. Now, before not wasting at all any time, showcasing the first samples, the first project for the upcoming Mi smartphone, which features the 108 megapixel camera. And that's why what you see on your screen right now, Abhishek, can you start sharing it? Atul, let's show it to the audiences now.
Yeah, so here we go. This is Manish Mundra. Actually, thanks to the work that he was doing, I was inspired to try and help him. I have a very simple philosophy in life. It's lead, follow, or get out of the way. And like Manish should realize that our frontline PPE workers, the medical corps and, cops, etc., did not have enough the protection from the virus. And started acquiring it and distributing them. So it was, my privilege and almost duty to try and help. I'd never met him before, and he was doing all this work from Nigeria, believe it or not. So he also makes some really good movies. He's made Masan, he's made Newton, which was our entry to the Oscars, I think, and through a company called Drishyam Films. So we shot Manish. All the images have been shot pretty much except one. at a hotel property, the Radisson Blue in Mumbai. We had people come over 2 days and shoot. But anyway, coming to the photographic result, I mean, if I didn't tell you this was on a smartphone, you would be hard pressed to believe otherwise. With the 108 meg camera.
True, true,
Yeah.
true. Okay, so that was the first picture. That was Manish Mundra. He is actually a filmmaker, and like Atul mentioned, you have seen him producing some of the cool movies like Masan. And if you haven't seen it, you should go ahead and watch that movie. Manish was one of the first few people who actually stood up and acted when the pandemic hit. What all has he done, and why are we celebrating Manish Mundra today? Let me just quickly read it out to you. He has provided over 13,700 kg ration to the Kinder Samaj, and that's a big deal. 13,000 kgs of ration. That is the number. He has contributed over 200 beds to BMC, and he has distributed over 60,000 PPE kits to frontline workers. Now, wherever he was, he understood the reality of the situation, and he contributed immediately. And today, that is why we are celebrating Manish Mundra, and that was the first sample which we wanted to show you. Let's move to the next picture, and let's move to the next person. She is Mahika Nagaraj. She is a Bengaluru-based marketing consultant. Would you want to talk more about Mahika, Atul?
What I'll do is I'll go through the images and any technical things I wanted to say, and then you can tell them why we've shot them.
Sure.
So I think first of all, Mahita looks like Shabana Azmi. I told her that she was very happy. So and I'm very, very fond of Shabana ji because she agreed to do my first film, Nirja. So I have a very respectful and close equation with her. My nickname for her is Empress. I like shooting with light, and it fascinates me, how light reacts. So here in the lobby of the Radisson Blue, we've used the light coming through, these drapes, which you can see to your left. And there's no flash or fill card or anything. It's just the natural light. Please note that I would always recommend to all of you that you think an image is sharp because it looks sharp on your screen, but for real sharpness, it's a good idea to always shoot off a tripod when the image matters a lot, especially in low light photography. So if it's of consequence, then I've always done that. And here you can see the tonal range on the black and white, which is really quite incredible given how the dappled light is coming through. So Sumit, you want to tell us?
I noticed one thing, and this is particularly interesting. I saw the first two images, and I think you have followed a certain color palette, which is monochrome for this. Any particular reason for following monochrome for this particular project?
So when it comes to portraiture, I've been a great fan of the late Richard Avedon, and I think what happens is, 98% of my work is probably done in color, and I love color; it's not a problem. But I think what happens is color tells you where to look. So to speak. It also distracts you to some extent. There's a certain purity when it comes to portraiture, with black and white. And the other thing we did was we wanted to use an element of white because these people were coming from all over the place. So we had a really, really good stylist called Alia Al-Rufai and her team working on this. And we tried to keep a certain purity and a certain thread through all the images where the people are wearing at least some element of white, if not like a lot of it. So, I think the black and white for me just captures the soul of a person more,
I agree with you on that one. Anyway, so what I wanted to tell our viewers today was that all these people who you see on your screens today and who you will see have actually been flown to Bombay, and Atul met them. Atul has interacted with them, has spent actually a lot of time with them. So my insight is asking Atul that what has he thought about those people, considering he has met them. Now, especially speaking about Manita, she has done quite a lot of work. And let me quickly just read it out to you so that we are all on the same page. She has been the founder of the Caremongers India, which is a Facebook group, which basically asks people. And you might have seen the situation happening all around when pandemic hit us initially. The intent was to stop scaremongering and start caremongering. A very important and a very important initiative, if you ask me. She also delivered necessities to the homes of the elderly, and this is basically based out of Bangalore. So she was delivering daily necessities to the homes of the elderly who have special needs or were not in a position to actually venture out themselves. She provided assistance across multiple places like Noida, Mohali, Delhi, Pune, and so much more, right? So she was sitting in one place actually, but she was adding and she was contributing to multiple locations and trying to do her best for this during this particular pandemic. And that's why we are celebrating her today. We are celebrating her, we are celebrating her achievements, and we are celebrating all that work which she has actually put in the last few months. And that's why she deserves to be a part of our project, to actually that 108 megapixel photographic ode which we started. I'll ask the team to move to the third person who we shot. His name is Muzaffar Lakdawala. I think Atul can speak, considering he has met him. Atul can speak more about him. But Atul, do you want to tell us how you shot this, about the lighting and things like those before you speak about Muzaffar?
Yeah, so I've known Mufi for a long time. He's actually a very famous bariatric surgeon. So he performs, I think it is not intestinal, but surgeries to help morbidly obese people, lose weight. I've known him for actually more than 20 odd years. So he basically just stopped his practice and set up, the quarantine centers all over Mumbai and pretty much didn't go home for 4 months. So here, what we've done is I've used light source essentially to light him, and use the strong backlight in the conference room at the hotel, to add the drama. Again, I mean, I look at the pictures now and I'm thinking, that it's hard to believe it's done on a smartphone. Now, what I also want to point out, I wanted the images to be raw, real and gritty, to a great extent. The retouching, if any, has been very, very minimal, mostly in terms of contrast. I have not done anything to their faces. I have not made them look thinner or anything, which is in a lot of my other work, we do that a lot. So I've done things like there were sharp highlights that appeared, which were very distracting at the top of the ceiling, where there were some metal strips. You dull those down, so that the attention comes on the people. But otherwise, we haven't messed with the people's faces as well. So it's the word actually in my head was I wanted to be as honest as possible. And I'd love to know your feedback if you think we succeeded. Over to you.
Absolutely, I think that approach comes through. Atul, I'm also seeing one thing. Can you just go back to Muzaffar's picture, please? Okay, Atul, I'm also seeing one thing. Considering these are all shot in 108 megapixel, the background and the foreground separation is quite accurate. Do you have anything which you can add over there? Because I see a very natural bokeh which is now happening between the subject and actually the background. What do you think?
Yeah. Like I said, so one of the things about smartphones that happens is, unless you're intentionally shooting on a portrait mode, by and large, you'll get a lot in focus from front to back. That's a plus as well as a minus. And the other thing is, the default lens on the 108 is pretty wide. I think it translates into in a DSLR, it would probably be like a 20 millimeter or 24 millimeter. So it's extremely important that you use the camera in a manner such that you don't get perspective distortion. Because if you go too close, then you'll have faces looming very large into frame. So it needs, like with any other camera, a certain amount of photographic skill to be able to achieve that. And I guess like lots of practice. But I find the tonal control really, really good. And it gives, like, if you see, for example, in his shirt, you've got lots of detail in the gray areas as well as the white areas. And if I enlarge that face, is actually quite remarkable just how sharp it is. So, it's actually technically up there.
True. Okay, cool. Let's know why Muzaffar is here as a part of Atul's Ode. So let me just read this out to you. He has worked closely with the BMC and he successfully implemented a self-sufficient data management, research and patient care at the NSCI COVID hospital, which resulted in better patient outcomes. Now, as Atul already told us, he almost stopped his own practice and dedicated all his time, almost 4 months, to this particular effort. In a time when no hospital in the city was actually willing to take cancer patients infected with COVID-19, more than 80 cancer patients, including children from the age of 2 to 13 years, were actually successfully managed with his help. And over 2,000 COVID-19 patients have been discharged from this facility since its inception. I think commendable work by Mr. Muzaffar, and that's why he deserves to be a part of Atul's Ode to Photography and this entire project. That's why Muzaffar needs to be here. Let's move to the next sample and the next person. Okay, that's Milind Chandwani. Atul, why don't you tell us about this photograph, what you felt about the camera, how did you compose this before we know more about Milind?
So we shot Milind in the restaurant, and again, so here's what I also do is, if I'm shooting something like this, I will not really rely only on the metering system of the camera. Usually, you have the option of going into pro mode, and then obviously your control is a lot better. Here, I think we use a gentle fill card from the right just to open up the shadows a little bit. But he has a really nice gentle. There's a warmth in his face and eyes, I thought, and we wanted to capture that. A very, very good subject. It was easy to shoot, took like 5 minutes. The other thing, by and large, I've done, if you noticed, is in the quest for staying as honest and true as possible, we've asked the subjects to maintain eye contact in almost all the images. So, it really feels like they're talking to you, and that, I think, comes through quite well.
No, when I saw the image for the very first time, I really felt that it was a very strong image because the person was looking right into the camera, and it felt very honest. It felt very raw, something which you have already said about this entire project. And I think that was the intention, and we have nailed it over there. Let us read about Milind and why he deserves to be here. So yeah, let's start reading. So he started an NGO in his own, on his own actually, and called it Campus Diaries. He also, during the pandemic, Milind identified families who actually needed support and provided over 2 lakh meals to these families in need. Later on, Camp Diaries, something which he had founded and which he had started a virtual medium for the safety of volunteers and students, and started working with over 15 orphanages across the cities to help them during these tough times. Now, Milind is actually from Bhopal, right? And the idea of doing this particular project was to reach out to every corner of this country. In different remote corners, in different places, people have stood up, and just like Milind. And hence, Milind needs to be here, Milind needs to be celebrated, Milind needs to be recognized. And that's why he is a part of this particular project. Let me move on to the fifth image and the fifth sample. Let's see that now. Ruchika Bhargava, a very different image from all what you have seen till now. But before we talk more about Ruchika, let's understand how did Atul compose this? What was the entire thought? Because this looks like a complicated image to me, honestly.
I just wanted a pattern of things that would give a lot of shape and line and shadow and light. And in all the busyness of what's going on, there's like a bit of calm and serenity in her very, very sweet face. And then of course the white, so your attention gets drawn straight there. So we shot in their in the hotel banquet area, and I guess some conference was over, so we mishmashed the chairs all over the place just to give it a random pattern of no pattern, and then shot her.
I think the chaos around, makes the subject stand out, to be very honest, and it is a beautiful image. Let's know a bit more about Ruchika and why we are celebrating her. As soon as there was a coronavirus outbreak in the country, she joined the Corona Volunteer Program, which is run by DIPR and Indian Red Cross Society across Karnataka. She spent hours at the local police station for a month to make sure that these migrants, and all of you remember about the migrant crisis, which the entire country actually faced. So she made sure that the migrants reached their homes safely via those Shramik trains which were running at that particular point in time. She also helped them in raising funds for their food, for their water supply, and everything else. That this is something which is very, very important to note. During that particular time, she also distributed sanitary napkins in slums and various labor camps since there was a shortage of menstrual hygiene products during lockdown. And that would be the third achievement. The fourth one would be that she also guided women on their nutrition and physiotherapy consultant. She later on joined Citizen Quarantining Squad, where the team was dedicated for over 6 months to make sure that all the travelers were screened and tracked so that everybody's safety can be maintained within the society itself. I think proud of this achievement, proud of all this work which she has contributed. And that's why she deserves to be a part of this particular campaign. And that's why we celebrate her today. Moving on to the next image. Okay, interesting. A person from Imphal, he's a working professional. His name is R.S. Bungukanam. If I'm not pronouncing it wrong, my apologies for that. Now, Atul, again, a very, very interesting image, a lot of play of light here. Tell us something about the image before we go ahead and read about his achievements.
So here, I'm actually really happy with the way this portrait turned out because it was quite a difficult shot to do. We've lit him artificially with a light source to give that little punch in the face. But the background is actually a wallpaper that was there in the hotel lobby. And there's almost a three-dimensional feel, to the entire space, although it's actually just a two-dimensional, piece of wallpaper. And again, a really sincere, honest face. And, I wanted him to be shot as simply as possible. Lovely, lovely boy. And actually what he's done in the Northeast is quite remarkable. You should tell our viewers about him.
Absolutely. Let's move to, So, okay, let's read about and the contribution which RS has actually made to the society. So he was a member of the COVID-19 control room in Kamjong district, and this is near Imphal. He was the in charge of management of fooding and lodging for the returnees, which were more than 10,000 people. He was also the in charge for transportation of these returnees through the Shramik trains, through the interstate transportation, and through air travel. So you can already understand the amount of logistics, the amount of planning which is required over there. He is also the in charge of management of ambulance for COVID positive and deceased patients from the Kamjong district. I think in the last few months, RS has actually done a lot for the society. You can already read about his contributions. We will also take these pictures live soon on our own websites. And along with more information of what these people have actually contributed towards. This is why we are celebrating RS today, and hence he needs to be a part of this particular project, this particular campaign. Let's move to the next image, please. Oh, Veer Das. Now, I don't think he requires any introduction. I'm guessing you have seen him, and you might know him, know of him already. Another interesting image coming in from Atul. Let's see what Atul has to talk about this one.
So Veer was shot in Goa, and actually this is the only image that I haven't shot because he was in Goa. And so I sent one of my senior assistants to do it, and then we were live on video while this was being shot. Remarkable guy, Veer. He is somebody I've known for many, many years. And again, he just decided to do his stand-up comedy show, which was ticketed. So you could be on a Zoom call. I think it was 100 people or whatever per. And for 30 straight days, something like that, you know, and then every day the proceeds went to some charity or the other, whether it was someone feeding dogs or whether it was somebody doing PPE kits. He also helped me a lot with the drive that I personally carried out, and great guy. As far as the photography was concerned, you know, they were in a bungalow shooting in Goa, which was under construction. So there wasn't that much space. But this area seemed interesting to me when they were on a video feed from there. And I asked Rahul, you know, to put him in the middle of it and, you know, let the light from both sides hit his face. And the good thing is Veer only wears mostly white t-shirts. So in terms of styling, it was pretty easy.
Nice. Okay. Cool. So let's read more about Veer. Now, we have spoken much about Veer, but let me just quickly read out his achievements to all of you guys. During the lockdown, Veer Das did close to almost 30 paid shows, and the proceeds were actually directed through multiple charity organizations working towards COVID-19 and towards managing the entire situation. The show was actually streamed on his own website. The proceeds from all of this was donated towards NGOs working towards COVID relief, such as CRY during the for the pandemic education, VOSD, which actually is an NGO works and works very, very closely with dogs. So feeding dogs, feeding stray dogs at that particular point in time. We also contributed his energy and his funds towards HelpAge India to provide kits, survival kits for the elderly of the society. And he was also adding PPE kits, which Atul actually spoke about for Doctors for You. He is actually, and this is also one more cool thing to know about Veer, he is actually all set to debut his unscripted homegrown comedy special, which is called Inside Out. And all of this, the entire fund, all of what he generates will actually go towards an NGO, which will work towards the COVID relief fund. So that's what Veer's contribution to the society is. In no way, and I would also want to clarify this thing, in no way, whoever has appeared in this particular shoot is endorsing the Me brand or Me smartphones. I just wanted to make it clear. We are fortunate to have you as a part of our project, and that's all about Veer. Let's move on to the next image, please. Kunal Sharma, a person from Baroda. He is actually an advocate. Now, before we get into what has Kunal contributed, let's actually hear from Atul. Why this image? Why the composition? What does he think about the image itself?
So if you notice, you know, in a lot, like maybe it's just the kind of people they are, but I think there's an innate goodness in a lot of in all their faces. I mean, you don't need to know them. They don't need to be classically handsome in any way, but I think you look at the eyes and, you know, there's a certain innate goodness, which is why I love portraiture. I think, you know, it's really beautiful because you can really capture, I think, to some extent the soul. I'm actually, again, quite blown away with the sharpness, you know, on this picture and the range. You can see details in the blackest of black and, you know, for example, look at the tonal qualities across his face right now. And again, there's really, to stress, not very much image manipulation that we've done at all, certainly not on the face, you know. I also like the way we've used light here with the dapple hitting him and on the background. So, yeah.
Right. Another good image. Let's actually read more about him. What were his achievements during this particular period? So he created actually a network of over 2,000 people to help the senior citizens. And now this is all of this happening in Baroda. So he created actually a network of 2,000 people to help the senior citizens actually get their medicines, and actually fed over 12,000 daily wage workers every day. And this is happening every day for the next 1.5 months. So you can already realize the amount of time contribution, the amount of physical contribution which you have to put in. The second thing, he associated with the Gujarat police to mark social distancing circles. Now, you might have seen this, you might have actually even followed this, right? So he was actually marking social distancing circles in front of every single grocery store. Remember, when the pandemic hit, we were actually told to maintain social distancing. And that is something which is very, very important, and we still need to practice that. But he was the one on ground who was actually marking those circles, right? And I think it's a very big thing to be doing that. In front of all the medical stores, all the grocery stores, wherever there was a lot of crowding happening. He also hosted more than 250 blood donation camps across Gujarat to make sure that the blood banks are not running dry of the blood groups or actually blood itself during COVID-19, which was very, very essential, if you remember, because a lot of people at that particular point in time during pandemic were in hospitals. The requirement for the blood was at all-time high, and the contribution was obviously coming in by all these blood camps which were running in Gujarat. So that's his contribution. That's we are proud of him. We celebrate him, and that's why he's a part of this campaign today. Let's move to the next image quickly now. Okay, Mr. Imtiaz Ansari. Now he is an ambulance driver from Mumbai. A very, very interesting face, a very kind face, a very honest face. I saw this image a few days back, and I was completely taken back by, to be very honest, the honesty of the face itself, right? And what he has done. Let's speak to Atul, first of all, about how he shot this and the entire composition before we speak more about his achievements.
So there was a space in the garden which had an overhang above, so there's no direct light hitting him. It's a soft shadow light coming across. Didn't need to do anything. There was already like a lovely gradation across the face, and the area was being separated by this coir kind of the background, and then a stucco wall on the left hand side. And I put him bang in the middle so that you got those two different contrasting like textures behind him, and then there's the white shirt, which I'm happy to tell you that we got most of the clothing for the men and women from one of my favorite brands, Rare Rabbit. They were kind enough to provide the styling material for our stylists to use, which was great. So thanks, guys. Again, this gentleman, I think sorry, go on.
No. So I think you were right about the styling part of it. I think all of them look brilliant. But yeah, I think the moment I saw this image, I of course saw also the shadow play, which was happening on the face itself. And that was particularly very, very interesting for me. Monochrome and the shadow play, that was actually very interesting. Let me read more about Mr. Ansari and how he has contributed. He actually slept in the ambulance for more than 1.5 months and helped take COVID positive patients to the hospital fearlessly. Now, this is a big contribution, and you might have heard the news, you might have even seen the situation, and it was quite bad initially when all of this started, where actually ambulance workers were actually refusing to ferry COVID positive patients. And at that particular point in time, who do you rely upon? There's actually nobody else. You can't be actually driving the ambulance yourself. So it is a big achievement, right? To be sleeping, to be actually serving the society, sleeping in an ambulance just to serve the society. I think that is why we salute Mr. Ansari. At this age, he has tried contributing towards the society. And I'm quite honestly very, very proud of him. I think he is a very humble man, a very honest man. And to be very honest, he deserves to be a part of this particular initiative. Let's move to the next image, please. Okay, Mr. Vikram Bhagat. He hails from Ranchi, Jharkhand. He's a working professional. Again, a very raw image, a very interesting image, a very different composition. Atul, why don't you tell us more about this one?
So I wanted to use this actually, this image is a bit cropped in this, at least the feed that I'm seeing. The light source that we were using, I said, let me use it in frame because it added a lot of balance. Actually, the image is a bit wider where you can see the top of these big windows in the conference room. And he's quite a large man, and and so we put him on a chair and then just worked the entire cavernousness of the space which was all around him. And I thought, like I said, the light source that I was using for my lights, complete with the cable and everything, and the stand, just works really well with, given this beautiful shadow play across his face as well. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way this turned out.
Very true, actually, yeah, and a very interesting image. Actually, very raw, to be very honest, to be starting with. Anyway, let's read about Mr. Bhagat and how he has contributed. So him and his wife prepared food at their home and distributed it amongst the less fortunate people, and a very few people. And to be quite honest, if you look at these images, these are actually representations and samples from our society of people. In no way represents everyone. Right? Our idea of reaching out and identifying these people was to understand that what are different people doing in their own particular sectors. And that's why we have selected these people. There are hundreds and millions of many COVID warriors who still go unsung. But this campaign, this project is an effort to start recognizing them, start recognizing real people wherever they are, no matter wherever they are, and those real stories. And to be quite honest, we want to extend this campaign even for a much longer time, where we will continue to celebrate those real stories and those real people. So while he was distributing food for less fortunate people, he was also preparing food daily for at least 50 people for the next 2 months. So him, whatever he could do, right, sitting in Ranchi, him and his wife worked together to make an impact towards the society, to actually make sure that nobody goes to bed with an empty stomach. And that's a big deal. And hence, he needs to be a part of this particular initiative. And that's why you see him here today. Moving on to the next image, please. Miss Uma Rajeshwari, she's an event manager from Bengaluru. Another interesting image, a very beautiful separation in terms of the bouquet, which I see here. And being a product person, I always drift towards that. But Atul, tell us about the picture. Interesting face. Why don't you tell us more?
Yeah, again, I don't know why this is, am I seeing it cropped or this is just cropped? Yeah, I mean, the frame is actually a lot wider of hers. Again, this is the kind of thing where you can really quite easily have a blowout of, the white at the edges of her. And, I think the camera really holds well in terms of getting you detail where you need it. And you can see that all across her garment, as well as her face, and as well as here in the background. I've tried to, make it go a little bit more out of focus this time, so that it draws attention to her, because Mumbai, as you know, outside of our windows is a very busy, distracting place. So.
Okay, cool. I'm not sure. I think, Atul, the images must be reframed so that our viewers can see it better. But soon we will be releasing all these images very, very soon on our partner platform, Amazon, on me.com and all our social channels. So stay tuned. If you want to see these images up close, we are releasing them very, very soon, right after this webinar gets over. Let's read about Miss Uma and why she deserves to be a part of this campaign. So she started with providing food on a daily basis to over hundreds of people. By providing them grocery kits. She also helped pregnant migrant laborers with their deliveries and monthly checkups. Now, very, very crucial, somebody had to be there to be actually helping them when they needed it the most. She also supported medical emergency. She helped migrant laborers deliver actually the child at her home. And she has done it all, to be quite honest. She has been committed towards the cause itself. Her team initiative, she started a team initiative called Team Adya, which basically spreads the information and basically tries and helps people who are looking for more support and looking for more help. So that's the intention of the team, to come up to help and support those people in need. She now, with her entire team of men and women who have lost their livelihood during the pandemic, she's also running another initiative, a social initiative called Earthy Footprints. And this is basically to support those people, those brilliant men and women who have lost their livelihood during the recent pandemic. So that's her achievements. And again, if I may say, she has done a lot to contribute towards the society, she and her team, and that's why we are celebrating Miss Uma today. She is from Bangalore, and yeah, and she deserves to be a part of this particular campaign. So that's why we have her here. Moving on to the next image, please. Okay, Mr. Syed Ghafoor, he comes from Hyderabad, and he is a sanitizer field assistant. Again, a very interesting image. If you look at Mr. Syed himself, just look at the clothing and just look at that lighting, which is actually falling on his beautiful blazer. Thank you, Rare Rabbit, for that. It looks beautiful. Let's talk to Atul and understand how he composed this thing.
No, again, I was just using sections of the hotel as and when people came in, to be able to manipulate the light and make it work for me. There were a couple of light fixtures on the corner which I've had removed later digitally because there was no need for them. But again, I think it's a lot of texture on texture with the marble patterns and on his jacket and the lines on his face. With the shadows on the wall, DSLR quality, what can I say?
Absolutely. I think I can clearly see that. And yeah, this entire texture, which is on the wall itself, plus the jacket, I think that makes it very, very interesting. Okay, let's read about him and how and why he deserves to be a part of this particular campaign. So, like I said, he is from Hyderabad, and he's a sanitary field assistant. He assisted people in containment zones with their daily necessities. Again, we have seen a lot of people contributing towards that particular cause, and he as well assisted those people to find their daily necessities. He also helped with on-field contact tracing and helped with admitting people in hospitals who were infected, along with the following arrangement of ambulances for COVID positive patients, sanitization of homes of infected people, and he, with his team, provided assistance, around the clock assistance, to be quite honest, during the COVID-19 time. So that's why we are celebrating him today. That's why he deserves to be a part of this campaign. And that was one brilliant image, Atul, quite honestly, the play of the texture and textures coming together. Okay, moving on. We have Mr. Kailash Mahida. He hails from Bombay, and he's a board supervisor. Again, a very interesting play. We obviously, the whites, which has been the color theme. Everybody, if you have seen and if you would have noticed, everybody is wearing white. And the focus, and they are exactly looking into the camera. But again, a lot of shadow play, which is happening here. A very interesting image. Atul, anything exclusive or anything about the camera equipment which you want to tell us about?
No, actually very similar to the earlier one. And I think it will be clear to the viewers now that, there's a certain kind of style I'm trying to work with, so that, when somebody sees an image across the room, they'll say, okay, it's probably in the same, campaign series, which I think is really important to, have like a visual statement and a visual thread for, people to identify with. So, so the whites, the textures, raw, real, honest, and then eye contact at all times, so.
Agreed, 100%. Let's read about Mr. Kailash, how and why he deserves to be a part of this. So his achievements, Kailash and his wife worked at the Nesco COVID Center in Goregaon East, and something which everybody was super scared of, and obviously we can understand why was that happening. We have seen our society react in different ways, while we would have all expected us to react differently. But if you look at this particular achievement, and this is particularly important, COVID positive patients, deceased COVID positive patients, actually Mr. Kailash and his wife worked at the Goregaon East at the Nesco COVID Center and helped in packing their bodies and actually contributed on the ground level to actually maintain safety for almost everyone. He's a water boy based out of Bombay. But again, in his own capacities, along with his wife, he has done a lot of work which actually contributes to the society and for our safety and our well-being. So that's why we are celebrating him today. And let's move to the next image, please. Okay, Miss Nivedita, she's a marketing professional, hails from Chennai. Again, a very different image, a lot of background play. Somebody who is looking right into the camera. Again, a very natural, honest look. Atul, what do you think about this particular picture?
I think there's a lot of quiet strength in this lady. I spoke to her for 10 minutes before we took the shot, and we did a lot of like variations, and we settled on this one. There's a certain in addition, I think there's a certain pride in how she carries herself. I thought she was quite remarkable. I like the way she's standing as well. Almost soldier-like in her.
Right. Okay. So let's read about Nivedita, how she has contributed. Okay. Interesting. Nivedita basically cooked and fed stray dogs for almost 7 months from the start of the lockdown itself. Now, we already know, and this is something which we at Xiaomi as well do. We have been working with something called Cupa. Now, people based out of Bangalore would obviously know about this, but we started working with Cupa last year to basically take care of these stray dogs and even some breeds which actually get thrown away from their houses. And even her, Nivedita, she actually cooked food herself and fed stray dogs for 7 months when actually all these restaurants were closed. There was no food wastage, which was actually happening, and food being thrown, which these stray dogs could have eaten. So yeah, she contributed towards her own special initiative, an initiative which actually goes beyond human beings and actually takes care of other animals as well. So this is what she did, and that's why she deserves to be a part of our initiative today. I think this is the last image. Let's move to the last one, please. Okay, so that was all. Yeah, that was those were all the images. I think we covered roughly almost 13 and 14 out of them. Atul, quite honestly, it is a privilege to be working with you. We look forward to you. So we'll continue to deliver this work together. I also, any parting words? I think we have few questions as well coming in from our social media channels. So if I can have Abhishek and he can tell us few questions which Atul can actually answer. Hi, Abhishek.
Hey guys. Hi guys. So there are a bunch of questions which me fans have been dropping out due to the time limitations which we have. We have quickly picked up 5 key questions which they have for Atul. So let me quickly read it out to you. The first question is from Rahul. He's from Mumbai, and he says he's a huge fan of Atul and wants to know that what did Atul feel about the equipment and how was his experience shooting on a phone after shooting on various types of cameras. So over to you, Atul.
Yeah, so one of the other photographers who's influenced my work is a guy, you should Google him, called Art Kane. Kane with a K, Kane. And Art Kane shot fashion using wide-angle lenses, which was not done at that time. So I've actually done that like a fair bit inspired by him, because what happens is you get the subject in the foreground and as well as give reason as to why you visited this fancy exotic place to shoot. So it's an interesting style of photography, which in my formative years I thought Art Kane did some really interesting work. And like I said earlier, the default setting on a smartphone by and large is a wider lens, and on the 108 Pro mode it is approximately a 20-24 on a DSLR equivalent. So therein actually lies the challenge in trying to be able to balance the people and make it look interesting, and I think that's quite fascinating to be able to do. So great fun. I think it's super sharp. The tonal ranges hold really well. I actually blew up a print. I don't know if you have a picture, and it held to
Yeah,
about 4 feet.
correct.
So
Can we show that image which Atul had shared with us?
I'll do it right away. Give me 1 second.
Cool. So,
so just on a
Atul,
whim, I called my printer and said, yeah, isko tu enlarge kar, and let's see. And then I sent it to you guys, which I thought was quite fun to do. He thinks it will hold for maybe 30-40% more easily. So you could actually make like a 5-foot, 6-foot print if your image taking abilities are sharp. And like I said, on something as important as this, I shot with a tripod. It was a very studied portrait session because it takes a little bit of time for because of the high file size. So you can't just go click. It's click and then about a 4-second wait, 5-second wait, and then click. So
right.
There we
so
go.
yeah.
As you can see, this is just shot in my office balcony, and that's a pretty large print. It's about 3.5 feet or so. So we just did this for fun, and it holds really well. So so it's great. So it's nice when your technical capabilities are enhanced, because then your equipment is just helping you to do more.
Okay. So sorry. Okay. So
What's
I'll
the next
move
question?
on.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. The next question is from Akash. He hails from Bangalore, and he is asking, how do you achieve sharp focus while shooting on a mobile phone? He also mentions it's a difficult task for him to focus properly while shooting on phones.
So, Akash, I think you should use a tripod. If you don't have a tripod, then you should pin yourself against something, or place it on on a table, a book, so on, and then stay as steady as possible. I actually hold my breath when I'm shooting. So, and my professional work is almost always with a tripod, unless I'm using a flash. Then the flash is quick enough to freeze, in which case I can shoot handheld, but I wouldn't recommend that. And other than that, if you're having trouble focusing, then may I recommend that you visit your nearest optometrist and look if you need any glasses, because that might be the case as well. So I'm just kidding. I'm sure your eyes are fine. So.
Okay. Any other questions, Abhishek?
Yes. We have 2 or 3 more questions from our audience.
I think we are already running out of time. Let's take maximum 2 questions now.
Okay. So Venugopal from Pune says, do you really have to edit all your photos? And do filters built into the phone have an impact on image quality?
So I think if you're adding filters on a regular camera, they definitely impact image quality. How much is really the question. Hence, you should, if you're spending a decent amount on your camera, you should spend on filters. But why do you want to add filters anyway? I never put any filters, including I don't put any UV or anything on my regular cameras, never have. Why do you want to add another layer of some kind of optical element that is going to, even if it's 0.5%, it is going to be different from your lens. Okay, so your lens has been made and it's engineered, it's not just made, which is a big word. And I think when it comes to built-in filters, to be honest, I do not know, but because I don't think it should affect it, because it's already captured, and then you're adding something which would be a color or something to that effect. But when it really matters, I would not put a filter across my lens, period. Okay, earlier one used polarizers. Sorry, that's my dog going mad. Use polarizers or something, but I prefer not to use filters at
all. Okay. The last question, I'll just quickly read it out. So Abhilash from New Delhi says, when you go in one of your travels for your shoots or just a leisure one, what all gears do you take with you? And which is the go-to camera while you're traveling?
There's no one at home. I just need to take this call. Please, 1 second. Sorry.
Okay. Cool. So while Atul takes and finishes his call, We will quickly, I think Atul mic is on. You can hear him. Okay, cool. Sorry for the interruption, guys. I think he's going to be back in a minute. So just be with us. Okay, he's here. You're on mute.
Okay, yeah.
Shoot the question again, please.
Yeah, so when you go in one of your travels, let it be work or leisure, what all gears do you take along with you? Is it just, is there any go-to camera or any other equipment which you generally use to take your pictures?
No, if I'm on holiday, I now shoot with a smartphone. You know, I don't bother taking a camera because I can't just take one camera. Then I have to take the camera, I have to take a laptop with it, I have to take 3-4 lenses, you know, then I'll want one little on-camera flash, etc., etc. Then my life is a mess. So since I make a living taking pictures all the time, and I'm very spoiled as a photographer, please understand that, you know, there's always been a lot of assistants. They're doing a lot of carrying. They're doing a lot of setting up. I mean, under instruction, of course, but they're doing all that. So all of a sudden, you know, all this mazuri to do again is like, you know, feel like you're rewinding to assistant mode. So, you know, I'll tell them what to do and suddenly I'll turn to the left and one camera will be handed in my hand with the correct lens. So, so yeah, so I'm spoiled. Sorry, but it's true. And, so I actually now shoot with the smartphone. In the days of the smartphone cameras not being good enough, I shot with a snappy usually. If I didn't want to take a whole tamjam along. So.
Okay. Thank you so much, Atul, for answering all the questions. Before we you know, end this session, we have one more COVID warrior, which we due to certain you know, technical issues, we couldn't showcase it. So I'm quickly going to share my screen, and Atul and Sumit will be taking through their profile. It's just one COVID warrior.
The guy from Srinagar, right?
Yes.
Oh, this Nasir, lovely guy, he's called me to Srinagar. I mean, he said, come to Kashmir and he will host me there. So I wanted to do pattern on pattern, you know. So we shot him with this busy jacket, with the busy background, and tried something different, which I think worked really well. Like that was really, you know, photographic, what I wanted to do. We haven't bothered correcting it over here because I didn't think it was necessary, but he's also been lit with an artificial source. And if you see the edge of his glasses, you can see my light source in there, which is a small tube light looking source out there to light his face. Sitting in Delhi, I think he did some incredible work of literally relocating like 100,000 students who are stuck. So quite remarkable. Yeah,
okay. Cool. So let's quickly know why he is a part of the campaign. So he is a humanitarian activist, set up grievance cell, 24/7 grievance cell, and leading it from the front line. This is something which Atul was mentioning. He helped students stuck in Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Aligarh Muslim University, and many more other places, and helped them in going home and getting home safely. Something which we were all hearing on the news at that particular point in time, if you remember. Over 20,000 such students were helped during this lockdown and as part of the evacuation process. And he helped more than 2,500 students in that particular period to get accommodation and food. I think he has done a brilliant work, and because of a technical glitch, we could not add him to the last presentation. But thank you, Abhishek, for highlighting this. He needs to be a part of the campaign. We celebrate him, and that's why he's a part of this entire project. That brings us, both Atul and I, to the end of this particular session. I quite honestly think that you must have found this session useful. The idea was to do something new. The idea was to do something which no other brand is actually even looking at. We are all excited. Atul, me, Priyanka, Abhishek, and the entire Me India team. We are all excited for January 5th It is the first smartphone launch of the decade. We are quite excited because we want you to start the new year with a brand new smartphone, which has the 108 megapixel camera phone, and you already saw some really important samples coming out of that. Thank you, Atul, for joining me today. Thank you for joining the
Pleasure,
team.
Sumit. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a privilege hosting you. Look forward for many more sessions with you. And guys, for all of you, and this is something which I wanted to tell you, for all of you who want a part of this particular campaign, we are going to release a digital calendar, a 2021 digital calendar. The idea was that, like I told you when I started this entire conversation, the idea is that 2021 has to be a celebration of those people who made 2020 better, right? And I think every month, every January, February, March, we should be celebrating those people. We should not forget what all these people have contributed in their own capacity. So we are releasing a digital calendar very soon. You should be able to download it from Amazon India, from our own websites and our social networks. And very soon, we will also release hard copies, desk calendars for this particular initiative. Now, I know most of us are stuck at home, and we would want you to have a piece of that. So you will also get that very, very soon. Thank you for joining us today. We wish you a very happy new year in advance. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Atul, and thank you the entire team, Bhavik and the entire team for setting this up. That would be the end of it. See you on January 5th at 12 noon for the launch. See you guys. Thank you for joining. Take care.